Hello, hello, YouTube. Today we will be taking a look at my Enchanted Knight build. It's primarily a strength build, but it does have some intelligence because there's just so many specific somber weapons that do that. They have a strength requirement, they have an int requirement, but they really scale with strength at the end of the day. You have the Carrion Knight swords, the Lazuli Glintstone sword, you have the Ruins Great Sword, the Falling Star Beastjaw, you have the Meteorite or Katana, you have the Crystallian Straight Sword and the rotten version of the Crystallian Straight Sword, and there could be more that I'm just not remembering off the top of my head. And so this was my attempt to mix the two. I love sorceries in this game, but I don't like being a spell spammer, right? But I also really like strength builds. I feel like they have a lot of variety. Oh, there's also the Troll's Knight Sword. That's more of a quality weapon with a int requirement, but I digress. There's a lot, right? And it's like if you want hybridization of most any setup of stats, there's probably a somber weapon for it to meet your needs. With the exception of Int Faith. You don't get Int Faith. It's too much for you. So this is my attempt at an Enchanted Knight. As the patches have rolled forward throughout the lifespan of Elden Ring, it's slowly shifted from a big chunk damage meta to more of a DPS meta. So having strong weapons that swing fast are great, so twin swords are just a great option. This poor guy here. I bully him a little bit. I hit him with a Radahn's Rain while he's buffing his weapon. And then I catch him at the end of a roll, and he gets going again. And I hit him again at the end of a roll, or maybe even before he started the next one. And he starts to get away. It looks like he's about to heal, right? And then he does the Alt F4 disconnect. Or at least that's what it looked like. Maybe he was just so tired of being hit over and over. Maybe he didn't mean to disconnect. I don't know. But that looks like a rage out. That's what it looked like to me, at least. And this poor guy, he goes to cast, I hit him with the Frostpot, and then I just hit him with the double, and he's gone. He didn't level Vigor. I felt bad. It wasn't supposed to end like that. But that's one of the things that this character, and I feel like I do a pretty good job of it in this video versus older videos, is showing off more of the kit that the character has, because I have a whole inventory that I've set up for unique situations and of course a variety to keep me happy, because I kind of get annoyed or bored when I have to use the same thing over and over. I like variety. There's some people who can just running R1 on a halberd till they die. That's their mantra, that's what they live by. They don't want anything else in this life. But this duo, they're the Claw Boys. They're kind of neat, you know. You don't see claws too often, I feel like. And they have fairly good recovery, so it's kind of hard to whiff punish them if you don't want to get hit at all. Your best bet is kind of to bring something heavier to the table and trade, but that's risky, because like I talked about earlier, it's shifting. The game is slowly shifting each patch into a DPS meta, so things that swing fast and repeatedly just seem to do very well. But of course, being able to break the posture or stumble anybody, break their poise is very helpful. Here I can swap the Falling Star Beastjaw, and the damage is fantastic. I'm hitting for like 500 from a distance on the cheap. It's economical damage. I really like this setup. It's not the best strength build, it's not the best wizard build, but there's something about blending it together gives you some access to some very nice Ashes of War that might as well be your spells. Like Waves of Destruction here. Smack him for 460 and another smack, and then this poor 1141 damage to that Phantom there. Just hitting him point blank with Waves of Destruction. And even I was one-handing the weapon and it was doing pretty well. If you two-handed it, it hits a good deal harder, because I have 54 strength. And I believe when you two-hand with 54 strength, it hits you around that. You have a virtual strength rating of like 80, which is good enough. Here's a little setup. It's nice to have these extra talismans on hand, because here I'm stacking poison resistance. Now, I don't need too much for this particular invasion. I didn't know it at the time. I'm just planning for the worst, right? But I eat an item, I put on a talisman, and then I get into it, and I put Preserving Boluses on my bar so I have access to them easily. And look how long that bar is. Then this Phantom here, shooting his lasers. Frostpots are fantastic. They stumble, they do great damage, and they make it so the enemy takes more damage. How could you hate that? And everyone can use Frostpots. You can stick that on any build. And the only build where you'd feel like you're getting gimped is if you're doing fire damage. And if you're doing fire damage, well, regardless of whether you're faith or strength, there's probably a different large pot you can use that will do very well as well. But the frost pot has an area effect on when it crunches against the ground or the person, it explodes. And even though I don't have the most optimized version of a strength int build, I feel like the damage output is nothing to bat an eye at. Maybe that's just twin swords in general. It seems very capable of being able to dispatch foes, but I like the style of the character's outfit. I like the flavor. I feel like it's not too try-hardy, though twin swords are probably considered very try-hardy as far as a lot of people are concerned. I don't consider it nearly as cancerous as like twin bleed spears or something, or twin lances. Though I do have lances on this build, and I think I show them off in the very last invasion. But just the idea that you have these twin swords, they can do a lot of damage. You can kind of size up the people and just chip them. Like, look, I chipped him for like 800, it looked like, as he's just going by me. That's more than a chip. Poor Phantom. Only had 900 health. Level your vigor. Doesn't matter who you are, level your vigor. This character has 60 vigor, I believe, in the build I showed off at the stats I showed off at the very beginning. There's almost no reason. If you're breaking level 100, 125, you should probably have 58 or 57 to 60 vigor. Like, really shoot for that. You probably go as low as 55, but I wouldn't recommend it. You need that health. You're not as cool as you think you are. You need the health so you can make mistakes. And of course, not spreading your points too thin. I think I have the minimum amount of intelligence required for all my weapons. I think I need 20 for the Falling Star Beast Jaw, and that is sufficient. This invasion, I just included it because I thought it was funny and sad, because I took out the Phantom almost instantly, and I get ready to fight this guy because he's Bull Goat, right? That means he could probably withstand a lot of my hits. I lose track of him for a second, then I find him again. And this poor guy, he feels like little brother hopped on big brother's account. Like, he does some attacks, he does an Ash of War, he's just kind of doing some neutral swings, and he's hiding behind his shield, and I'm like trying to get him to heal because I'm looking for more of a fight, right? So I wave him down, get him to heal, he heals once, you know. And so I was like, well, you know, I don't have much experience parrying curved greatswords, I'll give it a shot, why not? And I flub it every time. Spoiler, I do a miserable job trying to parry these attacks. I don't know if I've ever parried a curved greatsword, the timing throws me off. Even in fights, trying to whiff punish, curved greatswords throw me off. It's the weapon type I feel like I see the least, and then when it shows up, it always surprises me. And it's a good pick, it's a solid pick. This poor guy, I feel so bad. But I digress. The Enchanted Knight. I was talking about the stats earlier a little bit. Yeah, so 20 intelligence, so you can use the Falling Star Beast Jaw, and I think I have 20 dex, so I can wield the Ant Spur Rapier. Now, if you don't like the Falling Star Beast Jaw, which why wouldn't you? It's a fantastic option for finishing somebody off or chunking somebody. Or you don't like the Ant Spur Rapier, you can take those points away. Probably survive with like 18 or 17 dexterity and put those points elsewhere. But hefty build, a good amount of poise. This was a really poisey build because I wanted to be able to trade with people despite using twin swords. And that poor 3-man wipe, such a brief period of time. Because 101 poise, I believe, is the breakpoint if you want to poise through a single storm stomp, which can be so very nice. Because if you can poise a storm stomp, you can make that player regret ever stomping. Now, if you think somebody has 101 or more poise, they're probably close to it because a lot of people like to hit that breakpoint. The sweatier they are, hit them with a couple daggers. Hit them with a couple of the fan daggers, because each fan dagger just chips away enough of the poise that when you do go into the storm stomp, given you don't wait too long, then you should stumble them. So there are ways around it, or hit them with a light attack or something just little. Hopefully as a whiff punish to keep yourself safe, but you can dance around storm stomp. It's crazy how much of a difference a good amount of poise makes on a build. And it sucks because, of course, I want to be fashionable. There's so many sets of armor you want to wear. And it's better than it has been. In previous patches, a lot of armors didn't have good poise. In fact, a lot of armors had this really narrow window of poise, it felt like, that weren't that good. for most of the lists of armors in the whole game, and the only set of armors that felt like had good poise for their weight was the final bracket of armors when you're looking at your inventory. The Bull Ghost, the Lionel set, the Omen set, and the Prelate set, those ones. They felt like they had good poise. But then, a couple patches ago, they buffed the amount of poise that most armors had. Except for that final bracket. They left that final bracket, I believe, more or less the same. But they basically made the spectrum of poise values and armors just broader because there was a gap, it felt. It felt like there was a gap. And then they changed all the poise values of the weapons, and so it's better than it's ever been, but there's still, I feels like you can't really go for a medium or light armor build because your poise value will be almost inconsequential, unless you're going incredibly light and get light rolls, in which case you're a dirty monster that I don't wish to associate with you, because you're just going to roll away and you can roll faster than I can sprint, and there are ways to deal with it, but you have to be very precise. You have to catch people usually at the end of their first roll if you're lucky, or just have great timing. And they can just escape way too easily, and they can run out the clock in a duel. They can just be the most agitating person. And of course, they're allowed to. It is a video game after all. It's not illegal. It's just not very sportsmanlike. Makes me think of Fezzik from... no, was it Fezzik? What's his name? The Andre the Giant, his character in The Princess Bride. I think he was Fezzik. That sounds right. I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. Doesn't matter. Andre the Giant, that's his real name anyways, right? How he saw the fighting the man in the mask as unsporting or whatever. Or rather, hitting him with a rock when he wasn't looking was unsporting. I always thought that was a funny thing. And even in a video game where it doesn't matter so much, I do like to be sporting when I can. And I hope that as I get better at doing the PvP, that I can be more sporting with my foes, because defeating them fairly is a little more satisfying. Of course, if somebody else is being sweaty or icky, I might pull out the sweaty and icky tactic. I like having it in reserve. I don't like resorting to it. Now this guy looks like he's the AFK, and I just talked about being very sporting, and I just go for a backstab, and he comes back in the nick of time. I had a moment of weakness. I'm not perfect. I, too, am prone to bouts of scummery, tomfoolery. And this guy's just doing a great job dodging my attacks. And I don't have a lot of practice with greatswords. I felt like I was better with greatswords in Dark Souls 3, but then again, they came with a free 2-hit light attack combo. In this game, I feel like, depending on your greatsword, you have to do the jump attack and end the attack at a certain angle, and then start the next attack at a certain angle to get your combo. And otherwise, they just don't hit very hard, don't stumble enough for how much damage they do and how easy they are to get away from. Now, in the most recent patch, not the hotfix, but the patch, I believe they buffed the speeds of most of the attacks for the greatsword, with the exception of maybe the light attack. So the running attacks, I believe, got a boost. This was a fun moment. I was trying out the Knight Rider Glaive with the Highlander axe on my hip, and then the charge attack and the roar talisman in order to get myself extra damage. I didn't manage to land the hit on somebody's health bar, but I land the hit in a different way coming up here. And it's a phenomenal attack, and if you can hit somebody, it just melts them, right? It does phenomenal damage. You just have to hit them with it. And I probably didn't try it enough to hit enough, and I need to get better at the timing. And I roared too much during this. I accidentally hit the roar button because I'm like, I want to use the big attack on the weapon. The big attack's on L2, right? No, I need to use the charged attack, not the Ash of War. And that's something I need to get over, is having... See, there's the accidental roar. Again, me having a small brain moment. These people are just chipping my health time and time again. Making hits I should otherwise be smart enough to get past. But even when they seem to have the advantage, and they seem to be doing great damage to me... I see Gale of Eokide right there. I think that's how that's said. Just biding your time and looking for an opening can do wonders. Learning to slow down the fight a little bit and to think. Because sometimes you get stressed, but I find out the wizard doesn't have much health. And then I hit him with the charged heavy. Breaks his guard on a relatively decent shield for its weight. And I get the crit. And even Gale's here to say hi, and he pops me with an explosive right there at the end. True to Gale fashion. This particular invasion, it was a rematch. I failed the first time trying to kill these fellows, I'll admit it. The footage wasn't fun, so I didn't include it. I just lose after a long, drawn-out nothing burger. And they didn't even do anything cool. Had they done something funny or cool, I probably would have included it. But I do lose, so don't think I win all the time. I just show the ones that look fun. And to be fair, winning is fun to a degree, but that's not all it's about. But I get the drop on them with the Radahn's Rain, and I wish I had decided to use a great bow with the rain of arrows on it instead. And the difference, it seems, from what I can tell, and somebody probably has the numbers in front of them, is that Radahn's Rain on Radahn's Great Bow hits in a wider area, and it seems to hit more, but it's spread out. And it seems that the Rain of Arrows on the Great Bow hits a smaller area that's more condensed. And as a result, I feel like it does more damage if to a single target. Meanwhile, the Radahn's Rain might be better for a group, if that makes sense. So maybe I was fine using Radahn's Rain, but I should probably change this build a little bit and put the regular Rain of Arrows on a Great Bow. Because it hits really well. It can just full to nothing some people who don't have adequate vigor. It's nonsense. Just because it hits so tight, especially with the Golem Arrow. That's kind of a requirement. If you're fighting a big old boss like Plasudasax or something, someone that takes up a huge chunk of the arena and pauses for moments, the Great Bow's Rain of Arrows and Radahn's Rain of Arrows can work just fine, especially with the Radahn Great Arrows that get a bonus with the bow associated with it. So yeah, I love Great Bows. Great Bows do wonderfully. I should probably make a Great Bow dedicated video, though I feel like most every full-time PvPer who this is their job has already done that in abundance. You can find Great Bow compilations out the wazoo, so perhaps that's not what I will focus on. I think I'll focus more on trying to deliver flavorful, semi-lore appropriate builds and do what I can with those. But I'm able to harass these fellows a good bit with the bow from above. You can be an absolute nuisance. And this is something that you get as somebody who is a martial build. Martial builds almost have to themselves a set of spells thanks to Ashes of War, thanks to Great Bows, Jar Cannons. You have access to so many tools because you have strength. And there's a couple tools you get because of Dex. And if you're willing to go 20 strength as a Dex build, you can still get access to the Great Bow and do very well. The regular Great Bow, I should specify. But I finally get down here because they're doing a well enough job hiding from me, and they weren't figuring out how to get up to me. And I have a little trouble at first trying to find some good spacing because they got long spears and I have... well, one has a spear and the other has a heavy thrusting sword, and I have the twin swords. I'm just trying to find an in, but they're playing very defensively. To be fair, I did that to them. I made them play very defensively by just being a nuisance, probably draining a lot of their resources from above. And yeah, and then I get this guy off on his own. The other invader comes in and buys me just enough time to deal with this other phantom, and you can just get up to people and you can just mash those L2s just about. And of course you should pace yourself, you should be wise, you should go for the 1, the 1-2, and then the 1-2-3 when you know it's good. But you can almost experience a silly amount of success just brain dead mashing L2 with the twin swords up against somebody, especially if you get them panicking, just because there's so many hits going by and they're all doing decent damage. I think it's pretty funny how when I first played this game, I felt like they completely neutered straight swords. And turns out, not necessarily, you just need 2 of them now. And I should have seen that coming, that since they brought back power stancing, they were going to make certain weapons almost need to be paired to be balanced. And yet again, here I go, pulling out the Great Bow when I'm above somebody, just getting free damage, because I'm not usually good enough to full to nothing people, unless I get quite lucky. It's more or less a war of attrition. I need to wear down their flasks and get them to the point where I can actually kill them. That poor guy, he got caught by the rain and then got caught by a free shot. Just chipping him, and every hit is about a flask, so, you know, I just like, maybe not every hit, maybe every hit and a half is a flask, but still. just, I'm able to hit these people for thousands of damage, 400 in single shots, just absolutely tear through their resources. Golem arrows are kind of a pain to get. You have to farm golems for them, but they just do so well, and they're fun. I think it's almost worth it. And to be fair, to have a boon that powerful, maybe that's the balancing act, is you have to earn them. So I was really hoping to hit this guy with the axe. I just get one hit on the way down. Almost planned. Maybe it's better that way. Maybe I would have gotten hit with the fireball had I stayed up the ledge, so perhaps I am incredibly lucky. But still, strength build with a magic veneer. Doing work. Lots of options. I pulled out the Serpent Hunter because I feel like I should get good at the crouch pokes. Because every once in a while you run into somebody who that's their weapon. That's all they ever use is Serpent Hunter. And they run the same kit. They run really heavy armor, generally the Lionel helm. And then they have like the Twin Bird Kite Shield on their back. Plus probably Commander veteran armor. Veteran set chest piece and whatever else just to be heavy. Get 101 poise. And then they run Serpent Hunter, and they just wiggle back and forth, and they control the field of battle in one-on-one just to an insane degree. I was like, I should learn how to do that. I should learn to do the wiggle. And some of you are going, no, don't do that. That's the sweaty thing. And it's like, well, I want to know how to do the sweaty thing. I just want it available to me. Doesn't mean I need to abuse it all the time. And to be fair, I'm bad at the sweaty thing, so is it that sweaty? Yeah, I pulled up Thop's Barrier thinking he was going to spam the Riker projectile attack more, but he stopped immediately after this host. But Thop's Barrier, a lot of people overlook it. They kind of sleep on it. And to be fair, it's a little expensive, but it channels its casting. So as you hold down the button, it keeps casting continually, and it'll knock aside like homing projectiles, scatter projectiles, tons of little projectiles. I would love to see what it looks like against a Elden stars. So maybe I'll keep it on the character for that. But that's the other nice thing about having just a couple points of int is you have a staff. You can buff weapons with Scholar's armament, which will be a little stronger than a grease, just a smidge, right? And it lasts longer than the small grease. Definitely does a little more damage than it. It's not fantastic, right? But it can be fairly good. You have to worry about flat defenses and absorption, so it's not adding a lot of damage. I almost do it just for the flavor of how it looks. This guy is able to just circumvent me, walk through the attack, and get it backstab. I should have paid attention to what his latency was, but I've completely forgotten. But, that's why you throw knives at folks, so you can pay attention to how much latency they have. Or you get a third-party program if you're on PC and just read their ping out on the side. That could be a wonderful tool. And finally, we deal with that guy. Another phantom shows up. And I get in here. I'm going to poison this guy because he's a runner. And I get hit, and off the cliff I go. Great teamwork. See? Funny? I included. Works well enough. Here for the final invasion. I'm finally showing off the sweaty lances. Look at that reaction time, right? At the moment I see the hat, I duck to the side and put on the buff. Because even though this is a this is an int, strength build with an int, a little bit of intelligence on it, I still have access to some of those baby faith spells, or faith incantations, because you only need like 10 for the 4 that provide resistances to elements. That's fantastic. 871, look at that. Oh, big damage. Honestly, it almost looks like he's wearing a sword seal, but I don't know. It feels like it's doing a lot of damage. Look at that. That was like cumulative 1900 damage spread across the two of them. Because they lined up. Ugh. Feel bad for them. But not too bad. Don't feel too bad for them. But still, this is my Enchanted Knight build. I had a lot of fun. I kind of want to emulate one of the Knights of the Cuckoo, somebody who has sorceries, but just the little ones. Just the baby ones. You have Scholar's Armament for flavor. You have the shield buff if you need it. You have access to the Night Maiden's Mist War Crimes, though I didn't use it in this video. The War Crimes can be awesome for flushing out your foes. Night Maiden's Mist is a great pick. You just have a lot of tools and a lot at your disposal, and of course, tasty Ashes of War. Goodbye, and have a good one.